Hey guys, Ryan and Greg here, back for another breakdown, and we're finally gonna get some aliens, guys. This is episode 7. It's called Take Me to Your Leader.
Of course, spoiler warning, if you haven't seen the episode yet, get out of here, go watch it, and then come on back here. Let's break it down.
All right, Greg, now before we get into the episode itself, let's talk a little bit about some other things that we saw on the internet before the episode. FX Networks is releasing these small little broadcasts, these 1950s style radio broadcasts. Well, there's been one so far. And it gave a little bit of like fun little Easter eggs and some details of what we can probably expect this season of the show. I highly recommend you guys listen to it on their YouTube channel because it gives a fun little context into like how this whole story is going to develop. You know, you get like the talk about the microwave ovens, you get to talk about baby boom, you get kind of like what's going on in the world in the United States at this time, as well as this very sinister, Greg, like aliens kind of subliminally speaking, like taking over the the broadcast and speaking to the audience, almost like a mind control or some sort of like overlord kind of like checking in on us.
Tell your husband today.
I don't want to say anything else about it because it's short and you should just listen to it, but I also like the title, KHS. Cool. Thanks, guys. So this episode starts off in Albuquerque, New Mexico in 1954. Black and white. Yes. Immediately I'm thinking, please don't pull the rug from under me. I really hope this is the episode. I hope this is it. I hope there's no twist involved here with everything we're seeing in the 50s. And nope, doesn't look like it. It's an alien story. We got it. We finally got an alien episode. I don't know how people feel about that, but I absolutely loved it. At least all the alien parts, and anything involving aliens and anything in black and white was exceptional.
Yeah, I agree with you, Greg, and I think that's it's kind of long overdue. You know, a lot of us fans have been waiting for the aliens to pop back up, and we've heard over the years that Ryan Murphy wasn't too keen on, you know, it wasn't really interesting to him to just do a whole straight up alien thing. So you know that there's gonna be some twists and turns here eventually throughout the last few episodes here of the season. But it's pretty cool to just get kind of just aliens, like from the first episode of this double feature, we're introduced to like another alien abduction story. So in the 50s, the black and white footage looks awesome. And it's kind of very eerily similar to the alien abduction that we saw back in Asylum with
Alma,
Kid and Alma Walker. So you get the kid playing out in the front, and then all of a sudden all the, everything's flickering inside. The time is kind of reversing. The vinyl playing Dean Martin is turning backwards, reversing as well. And then, of course, aliens are coming, and pretty frightening. I love how they do this. Just like Kit Walker, the mother Maria just hits the top of the ceiling, gets stuck up there. Child comes back. Don't worry, mommy. Hold my hand. As soon as this happens, you need to worry. Just FYI.
His eyes go white.
His eyes go white.
Great.
Yep. And it looks like basically, this is the ground zero of like how the aliens came to the United States and basically, infiltrated the human race. So this is kind of the start of the whole thing.
Yeah, we can't forget my favorite part, which is the head explosions.
Yes. How can I forget that?
We can never. Part 1 was slashing throats, I guess. Would you say break a bottle, slash a throat?
Definitely.
Looks like part 2 is just head explosions, just as many as we can here. Let's just use it. Just go with it. Whenever it's fine.
They're completely leaning into the Scanners style. Cronenberg exploding. Like, okay, we're here for it. Like
David Lynch too. Before. It feels like
now let's blow some heads up, Greg. So the aliens definitely have telepathic powers to just like blow your head up at will. So they're not the nicest aliens off the bat here. They definitely want something from the human race, from the Americans at this point. We don't know across the world what else is going on. But the husband comes home, expecting maybe a dinner to be prepared for him, checking on his son, and he gets his head blown off.
At the same time, there's a lot of similarities between the aliens, of course, from Asylum with the pregnancy that we'll talk about later. But they also have some very different motives. No benevolent beings this time around. It seems like they're just straight up going for the kill for whatever reason.
All right, Greg, that brings us to a brand new title sequence. This is one of my favorites that I've seen on the show so far. It was much different than the first section of Double Feature. And this one was like, like you said, alien pregnancies, tentacles, octopus tentacles. It looked like, fetuses being formed. It was just so far out there, all in black and white, and really captured kind of the horrors that we might see later this season. I loved it.
So we move over to Palm Springs in 1954 with President Eisenhower, played by Neil McDonough. That guy. That man. Whenever you see him on TV, you're like, oh, that guy. Keep the channel here. Don't change anything. Of course, Minority Report.
So many things, Greg, over the years.
And of course, he's interrupted by another guy. You're like, oh, that guy. Again, where do you remember this man from, Ryan?
Mad Men, right? That was awesome. I was like, that looks so familiar, and it's pretty fitting that they're using, him in a similar time frame that they used in the show Mad Men. That's obviously taking place in the 60s. This is a little bit early, but you see the president just kind of like in his leisure time playing golf. A lot of presidents play golf. It's a long-standing tradition, right, Greg? And he's interrupted because an aircraft was shot down, or an aircraft was in U.S. airspace, right? So. I like how it was kind of vague here, right? Didn't really come out and tell the president exactly what's going on because national security. But tells him basically, we need you now. It's urgent, and they go to the desert. And this is right outside Edwards Air Force Base, which is Area 51 area. So it's perfect. In the 50s, the first alien UFO landing here. They all come across it, and it's just kind of, what is going on? What is this? Are we serious? This is happening right now? Type of vibe.
And it gets wilder from there, of course, because they're not alone. Once they look over the scene, they see the crash site, they find an alien. You get your little green man or whoever this is down there. We get a full-on old-school alien. And to add on to that, guess who's here? Lily Rabe as Amelia Earhart.
And the thing here is, AHS loves to kind of re-explain history, right? Give us a history lesson. Amelia Earhart she disappeared in 1937, and this would make 17 years. She's been gone, and she just pops up 1954 in the middle of the desert, and they're explaining her disappearance due to the fact of coming in contact with aliens, right? Coming in contact to an alien abduction, seeing the bright light, everything that we know with an alien abduction looks like. So. This is their way of explaining kind of what happened to Amelia way back in the late 30s.
And I know every AHS fan out there, immediately their mind went to something that we're going to talk about a little bit later, that they could potentially be setting up something later on when it comes to time travel. But let's get to that later. But for now, also point out that the stuff on Amelia's back is like, you got a spiral back there and a few cool little designs. So keep that in mind too. That might come back into play a little bit later on.
Yeah. And on top of all this, Greg, let's talk about. I mean, she's pregnant. Apparently, she's 2 months pregnant.
Yes.
And not only on top of that, it's even weirder. She hasn't aged at all since 1937. So she literally, they say it a number of times, they lost time. Like, time stopped for people that basically come in contact with the aliens. No matter how long you've been gone on the, what we're used to being, the existence of time. It doesn't quite work that way with the aliens. They have some sort of technology, or they're in a different dimension where they can basically stop time. Time doesn't work the same. Time is a flat circle, Greg.
Now, one would assume that we're going to see this baby, much older, pop up sometime in present day. But obviously the government's involved. So I don't think this person's just going to end up being like a teacher or something. We'll see.
Yeah,
but
there's no way that baby's living in anything of a normal life. The government will not let that baby out of its sight.
No.
So, I don't know. My wild theory was that, the offspring of this alien-human hybrid has its own offspring with the the people, the blood-sucking vampires that we saw in Red Tide, and then we get basically the worst offspring ever. The only thing that could literally one up the Antichrist.
That's the plot of Prometheus. Hold on, that's what happened in Prometheus.
All right, Greg, on to the good stuff. Now we get an alien autopsy moment, a sequence in this part of the show. We've seen this in countless films, TV shows. This is pretty awesome. It looks like a child's body, almost like a smaller alien. I think they're going to call them the Greys. We had the Pales and Red Tide. Now we have the Greys. So not green Martians, but gray Martians. Anyways, they're splitting him open. Nothing's inside the body cavity. Feels very like Independence Day of more recent, but also countless TV shows and movies. And then there's this hissing sound, and then we get a face hugger basically from the Alien franchise, just all over the guy's face. It looks a little bit over the top and ridiculous, but also a nice nod to classic sci-fi horror stuff here. Yeah. I loved every second of it.
Me too. Shouts out to just the design team and all the technical aspects they had to do this. I absolutely loved it. I thought like, oh man, how far are they going to take this? And then when you see the face huggers and that the special effects used for them, and I was like, all right, I'm in. This is it. This is better than what I was hoping, what I thought this might be. And then because they're just going for it. It seems like they're just like, hey, let's just take it as it is and let's just go with it. Don't worry about anything else. I love the B-movie aspect to this.
Yeah, totally. And then, alien sci-fi and alien, the theme of this is throughout TV and movies and pop culture. So you need to like lean into that when you're doing something like this, right? Like, don't be shy. Don't
double feature.
Don't shy away. Don't shy away from showing some of those, those inspirations that we all grew up on, and American culture has been doing since the 50s of alien invasions. So I thought it was great. And then like you said earlier, definitely not benevolent creatures, right? Like just blows off more heads. And then we get Maria from the beginning, the housewife, floating down the hallway, and she basically, take me to your leader, wants to speak to the American president, Dwight Eisenhower, and basically communicate to him their demands. It's not even like a, hey, let's have some sort of like powwow here and talk about what we both want to get. It's basically like, we're going to tell you exactly what you need to do for us.
It is you who will listen to us.
And now the episode takes a turn when we head to present day, where we meet college students, Ivy League students. We are quickly introduced to each and every character and what they're doing immediately. But also the title sequence that we get here, you pointed something out here that seems a little bit fishy for how we are introduced to these characters immediately.
Yeah, we've seen this trope used in different TV shows or movies where they do kind of like a freeze frame after they show the character walk in. But here, I noticed it looked like almost it was like a government case file or something like that. Like, a quick little bio for each one of them. But like, it almost felt like this is like kind of going to be classified information, or like, this story won't be told to the public because of what they're going to get into, what events they're going to experience with these aliens later on in the episode. So it kind of went with the whole motif of like the government conspiracy cover up and all that kind of like a classified file. I like how they did it. Now, Greg, I must say though, they're like the most stereotypical like college kids. I mean, I'm years and years out of college, but like it kind of was a little bit over the top, and I mean, we expect this from American Horror Story, but maybe I'm just a little bit prude. But like, was this like TMI talk, like the entire conversation here?
Sorta, but not really. Also, because I get it. But also, you have to like introduce these characters very quickly and get all this stuff in. I wasn't a fan of it still. Again, the dialogue was like a record scratch here for what we just saw in 1950s, where we just got this huge alien story, crazy theatrics, and then we just head to present day. It felt very jarring. The major issue that you're going to have going forward is just that balancing act, because, oh boy, just dealing with present day and these kids, and going from this story that we're very into right now. We're extremely into this aliens. We've been waiting for the aliens. So you just got to keep it going. Yeah. With everything we get here with these kids, you just need to keep it going at 11 or higher. Yeah. Because that was a little tough.
No, I totally agree with you. And I think you're right. I think that's a great observation, is like how jarring it is to go from the 1950s to how people talked and conducted themselves, and the dialogue used, and just the dress, how everything looked. And then something in 2021, and these are the most like outrageously sexualized and like stereotypical college students. But we'll give it some time to see to see further before making any judgment calls on this. But
there's going to be a payoff for this, and I think that's why they're going to present day. And I hope the payoff is something cool that goes with Asylum. But we'll talk about it again a little bit later.
Yeah, totally. And basically, we from this gathering, they're celebrating a night together. They're all in college, first time seeing each other since getting to college. That first hangout with all your old high school friends and catching up, and then they're going to spend a couple days camping in the desert together. They picked the wrong campsite though, Greg.
Luddites. Hold on, Luddites. Wait. We got to talk about the Luddite thing.
Yes.
Wait a minute. So Kaya Gerber's character has joined a special club, a very special club that I have a feeling we're going to get a lot more info on in the next few episodes. Where we find out, that she's been sleeping with the professor, and this guy is there's something up. There's something weird here going on with him. We don't know yet, but I have a feeling there's going to be more to his character coming down the line. But I'm weirded out by what's going on here with the Luddite storyline. To how obviously the point of it was to get them without their phones, so we can have this whole scene with the abduction later, and they wouldn't have to record it or anything. Just get that out of the way.
It was borderline like a cult he's starting over there and not letting her do certain things. I don't know. It's kind of weird.
Super weird.
Can I just borrow my parents' computer and Google it just this once?
Yeah, I mean, sure, as long as you're okay saying that you only believe in something as long as it's convenient for you. It's a slippery slope, Kenny.
So, Greg, they're getting together to go camping, spend some time in the desert together, their own little mini Coachella. Unfortunately, they picked the wrong campsite. It looks really nice the first night. Then they wake up and try looking for a pond to go swimming in. Obviously, it's not there. The mind is already playing tricks on Troy. And then they come across a horrible smell, and these cows have been mutilated, basically sliced perfectly in half, almost with like a laser, an alien laser, or something like that. And it's still like possessed, like the eyes like roll back in its head, and it starts screaming and screeching. I mean, this is the point where you just GTFO, which is what they do. They basically haul ass back to camp and try to pack up and get the hell out of there.
And then, of course, they're stopped immediately by a blinding light as the aliens have come upon them, and there's nothing they can do about it. Because then we get this like tentacle porn kind of thing going on with everyone. It was awesome. And then we're snapped out of that, and they miss a few days. They have no idea what happened to them. One of them's not even in the car, and they're getting ready to take off before they almost hit her. Yeah. And the big takeaway is they lost a few days.
And one thing I noticed is that like technology doesn't work when the aliens pop up, right? Like almost all tech all human tech like stops working, which is kind of like how they could have just used this to explain why the phones don't work. But whatever. Luddite Club, go for it.
Luddite Club is coming back. Luddite Club's coming back. I know it, because then they could have just done that. They could have just been like, my phone doesn't work. Yeah.
Yeah, it has to. They have to. There's some sort of payoff there, but the car doesn't work, so they have no way of getting any help. They can't drive off, and they see like a figure, one of the Greys, a small Martian coming towards them, and then like you said, all the tentacles. So they are all kind of mixed up in the car. Don't know what They have a recognition of what happened to them, but they don't know how much time has been lost. But the key here is that time has been lost. They just don't know how much and kind of what happened in between there.
We were all put in different seats.
The fuck, you're right. How is that possible? I don't care. I just want to go home.
So everyone gets back home, and Rachel and Jamie are talking to each other, and it sounds like they're pregnant, or at least it feels like it. So they go and take a bunch of pregnancy tests, and sure enough, it looks like, hey, it's confirmed, I guess, so far, at least on the pregnancy test, that they are having a baby. And they're not the only ones having a baby, apparently. We check in on the guys, and it was Giardia. Now, anyone who's had a puppy, and also it can move over to adults as well. But so Giardia is a real thing, and it sucks. Unfortunately, it's not Giardia, Ryan. They are also pregnant. Everybody's pregnant.
So yes, men and women are pregnant. Made me think of this incredible movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Have you thought of any names?
Junior, if it is a boy.
Uh-huh.
And if it's a girl, Junior.
One of the greatest films of all time, of course.
Yes, I mean, who doesn't love Junior? But basically, this shows, decades and decades of the aliens possibly impregnating / harvesting their own race by using human test subjects. probably has gone on for years and years, and it's kind of I don't know if it's like a handshake deal that the U.S. government made back in the 50s that allows just like, hey, you don't mess with us, or you have no choice. You can't really, you don't have a say in this. We're just going to do this.
I think there's an agreement made on one side, at least.
Well, let's talk about that, Greg, because like after seeing the teaser, you hear a couple like lines here and there about the technology, about like the microwave oven. About certain tech, and I had this inkling that maybe the U.S. government did broker some sort of deal that like said, here, you have all these technological advancements, and that kind of goes in line with the Luddite Club whole storyline of like, hey, in the last 50 years, the U.S. has made so many technological advances, more so than the hundreds and hundreds of years before, and maybe it was the aliens, some extraterrestrial that actually, some race that gave us that technology, that actually taught us how to do that. And in exchange, we allowed them, or we didn't put up much of a fight in order to harvest and kind of impregnate and kind of save their own race. So I think that might be the payoff here later on in this season, that like kind of, it's like the good and the bad, the gift and the curse. We like let them do this to our people, but then we advanced as a nation technologically in order to get to where we are present day.
And that's what Area 51 is, essentially. This is what it will become. They'll haul people in there for the experiments, and that's it. And then they get technology in return. Okay.
And if you sign up for if you book the wrong Airbnb in the desert, then like, hey, you're one of the test subjects. Like it's in the terms and conditions on the bottom.
Now, at the end of the episode, they also name drop Betty and Barney Hill. I thought that was cool because, again, it's another connection, not only to just the alien universe stories that we get everywhere in the world, but also to Asylum itself, as, of course, Alma and Kit were based on those two people. Real life inspirations, which you can also find on the channel here for our True Crimes episode on Asylum.
Betty and Barney Hill in 1961. Some people think Amelia Earhart was abducted.
Close Encounters was not a documentary, Kendall.
There's a lot of questions at the end of this episode. I thought it was a strong start to this second half of the season, Greg. My question, I think the biggest question is, are we ultimately going to see Kit and Alma Walker and Julia and Thomas, the kids? We know the kids were like special, unique beings, right? They had powers. And like you said earlier, these aliens that we dealt with in Asylum were much nicer, much more kind, much benevolent. And that season only took place about 10 years later than the start of what we see in this season. And it's over in Massachusetts. Maybe the aliens over there in the East Coast are just a little bit nicer. I don't know exactly, but I don't know. Do you think the big payoff here is Evan Peters at the end of the episode kind of explaining what happened to him and where he's been this whole time?
They're setting that up. So that's the issue I have here is like, well, I want to just stay in the back of my head, just like we thought that, in 1984 that Evan Peters was going to show up as Billy Idol. I hope we're not in the same boat right now where we keep thinking it's obvious. It's obvious that Evan Peters has to show up as Kit here. They set up the Amelia Earhart sequence where we now know that the aliens can push people into the future. They don't age. That's a huge sign that they're taking it that direction where we know that, hey, that means in present day, somebody's got to be showing up from the past here. I have a feeling we're going to get some time jump with somebody going to the future. It would make sense for Kit Walker. He left in the 80s. He can return in 2021. It feels perfect for them to set this up for Kit Walker to return, to walk through that door, to talk to everyone, those kids, and tell them what's going on or whatever happens here. There's got to be a cameo. That immediately at the end of the episode, I thought there has to be a Evan Peters cameo as Kit at some point.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, fingers crossed. I hope that does happen down the road here, because it was one of the biggest questions that we had at the end of Asylum. Like, what happened to him? What happened to his kids? Where are they in the world? I mean, you'd think that the U.S. government might have known, although it's taken place in Massachusetts, you'd think that they would be aware of any of these encounters with aliens on American soil after their run-in with them in 1954, right? So, I don't know. There's a lot that needs to happen over the course of the next few episodes. This is much shorter than the first half of Double Feature. But I'm after one episode, Greg, I'm pretty pumped. I'm excited for it.
I'm pumped too, as long as, again, balancing act. They're going to have to find a way to, with these kids, and then dealing with the storyline going on in the 50s, which it just feels a little bit more engrossing, obviously. Right now, from the first episodes, you're introduced to new characters and everything. But it's still, balancing act, please. If it works out, I can't wait to see how this goes, because so far I'm into it. I'm 100% on board for the alien story. As long as they don't pull it, just don't pull it from underneath us. Don't have Lucy pull that football away and we find out this is just all a ruse.
So guys, that'll do it for this week's breakdown. Be sure to come back next week for an episode 8 breakdown. We love you guys. Thank you so much for the support, and we will see you soon.
Bye-bye.